this becomes then sort of the justification or the analysis, the basis for calling for a new economic paradigm, and for that, an exponent, a former World Bank economist, Herman Daly, in his book Beyond Growth: The Economics of Sustainable Development, talks about creating a new kind of, moving to a new economic system premised off quantity and production of goods, but on quality, on a fairer distribution of resources, on placing real constraints and limits on growth, and for a definition of that in this piece by McGonigal against Copenhagen. Well, actually, I'll jump back to Herman Daly, the piece from the Tyee, where he talks about the elephants in the room, and then he quotes from Daly. It's a move to a steady state economy, a different paradigm with limits on growth, where we actually population, we have to start to approach a stable situation where births equal deaths, where the levels of production are more closely approximate depreciation. In other words, we're not growing, we're replacing goods and services and maintaining. It doesn't mean new technology or improving our quality of life, but it means maintaining a stable kind of situation and premising our economy off a whole different set of notions, quality rather than quantity. I'm going to, what does this mean locally? You can read about this more drawing on these references, but given the dire situation that we're in, and what sustainable growth has become, again, it's really concealing. It's become a cover, a way of retrofitting or wrapping growth in a patina and a kind of economic priorities embedded in a global capitalist economy. It's giving it a legitimacy and a rationale. How does this relate to the local and regional level? And I'm going to sort of, I'm more concerned right now, not just about understanding the analysis, but politically and organizationally, what we need to do at the community level to respond to this new this relatively new paradigm. The proponents of smart growth have taken the high ground. They are using this rationale to legitimize a model of growth for the region and for Seattle that is anathema to the environment and the values in particular that we care about, preserving the livable qualities of our communities, particularly in the urban environment. They are anathema to the things that we care about. And I'm concerned about the politics of this and what we have to do organizationally to retake the high ground. Go back, and really it means going back to an old paradigm. From my perspective, we worked with the environmental movement closely to establish the Growth Management Act. Neighborhoods did. In the late 80s and early 90s, we worked with the Washington Environmental Council. There was the old Future Wives, Thousand Friends of Washington. We combined forces, the neighborhood movement did, to achieve growth management and passage of that growth management. Well, I remember attending press conferences arm in arm with those groups, and the message was, we must manage, we must limit growth. We must preserve these environmental values wherever and whenever this growth occurs, to ensure responsible levels that reinforce, not destroy, the character of our communities, the livability, the affordability of our communities. And that model has been replaced with the smart growth model. Groups like FutureWise, Transportation Choices, Washington conservation voters, the Sierra Club, they have embraced the model of smart growth and sustainability. And the irony is that for those of us at the community level, that model, it's, as we say in our column, it's think globally, destroy locally. And that somehow it's been, the environmentalism and that effort has been inverted to legitimize removing inner city streams, paving over inner city streams, pouring more concrete, wiping out our tree canopy in the name of preventing global warming. And that we are the anti-environmentalists who stand up in our own communities to fight for those values. The debate over transit-oriented development was one of the most rancorous and divisive that I've been involved in my 30 years of activism. When we stepped in, alerted these communities in these areas around the transit stations about what they were in store for, a mandate of 50 units per acre, 25,000 housing units, areas from 3 to 8 units per acre at most. They were going to mandate upzones to accommodate those levels of density all along, not just rail stations, but rapid bus stations, with no mitigation put in place or accompanying these mandates. It was unbelievable to me. And so we alerted the communities to this, and we were immediate, and I don't know, Publicola, there's a website called Huge Axe City.
Yes.
You've read it? Dan Bartlett, who now writes for Publicola, who is himself an architect for one of the largest architectural and development firms in the city, working writes most of that stuff. We were chastised as being, of course, labeled as NIMBYs, chastised as being anti-environment, that we didn't know what we were talking about. And so we need to retake the high ground, redefine the terms of the debate, and who are the real environmentalists in our communities. And I'll go to the planning side of this for a second. We're concentrating. We are, as a region, we're growing at accelerated rates. There's an assumption now that we must add, of course, 1.5 million additional people and accommodate it. We set growth targets under that assumption. In 2011, they're going to revise these growth targets upward again. There's a projections show that we're increasing by an additional 30%. We expect growth and 30% more above current rates of growth. And therefore, they're going to readjust these growth targets up by another 30%. Never mind that Seattle right now has 3 times the capacity that we need under the current growth targets, that were double. We've reached over 50 to 55% of our 20-year growth target in just about from 2004 through 2008, we reached reached over 50% of our growth targets. But this is going, I sat there, Sally Clark said, we're going to move the goalpost on you again, when we were talking about the new multifamily land use policies, and in reference to these readjustments now, of these numbers. Now, the Puget Sound Regional Council, this is going on, it's going on right now. I don't know exactly where, but the planners, the analysts, and then the folks who make up the board of the regional council, they're working out these numbers now. Every one of our neighborhoods effectively is going to be asked to accommodate still more growth. And that's the rationale that's going to legitimize the current